Firstly, when we are talking about loving oneself, what does that mean? This we have to understand. No? What does that mean? There's two ways of looking at it. So who are you loving firstly? Which self are you loving? The external self, which you call yourself, or the inside, which is called yourself? No? You have two aspects, no? Two personality. One personality which you know, and another personality which you don't know. So which one you are talking about loving? How can you love something that you don't know? Huh? This is the thing, you see. The first, when we are talking about loving oneself, firstly, it's refer to the physical aspect first. The one you know firstly. Because the one that you know, you can easily love him. No? Because you love your mind, yes or no? You like to listen to your mind. You like to listen how your mind dictates you. So you love your mind so much. No? You love all your senses very much. Because when the senses is very agitated, running into the outside, you like to entertain it. No? So that's what you know. But this is one aspect of the outside. But there's another aspect of the outside also, which everybody have, but they keep it for themselves. The expression of who you are truly. Nobody knows you apart from yourself. You know, because everyone have a certain reality which they keep for themselves. They don't show to the people. They don't share it with anybody. That is your private. You don't want, very often people don't, they feel ashamed of being who they are. That they keep for themselves. You know, firstly, upon the external self, acceptance is important. If you don't accept, firstly, the outside, how God have created you, how God have made you, you will never know how to dive deep within. No? So, firstly, it is that acceptance must be there. Without that acceptance, you will never be able to accept life. If you don't accept yourself, how would you accept anybody else? Can you? Can you accept God, which you don't know? Can you accept your true self, which you're on, like you were just saying, you're on journey to know? You can't, no? That acceptance must be there firstly. So like that, first step of loving oneself is to completely accept oneself, how God have made you, have made your mind. That doesn't mean that you can't change. You know, that the changes start happening the moment you start to accept. But the mind finds it very difficult to accept, because the mind rotates on all the negative things that you have done it upon your life. No? Tell you to think about positive. What happened? You can't. Your mind jump very quickly in conclusion. You know? Your mind jump in the negative aspect of your own life firstly. And that negativity you project it on everything else. Though all this happen only when you learn to accept yourself. When you accept yourself, then you will be able to transform. Then the second acceptance is, the second is to love the true self. And how to love the true self? To be able to love the true self, you have to get to know the true self. You have to let that true self awake. No? So, how to get to know? the true self. With the mind which is so agitated, the mind which is so flickering, like in the Gita, Bhagavad Krishna, chapter 6, verse 19 of the Gita, Lord Krishna said, unflickering and a mind, a flame which is sheltered, don't flicker. Just as someone with self-control, the mind is not flickering around, it is steady. To attain to that level, where Bhagavan is saying, it is a journey. It is not an external journey, but it is an internal journey. For example, when he's talking about that, when you take a flame, when you observe like a flame is always flickering when it is in the wind. But the flame, when it is sheltered, does it flicker? No, it is flickering. The observance of it, it's very important. When you observe a flame, the tip of the flame is always flickering. The flame itself appeared not flickering, but the tip flickers so fast, but it appeared steady. So this is how, that mind must become. For the self to reveal, the mind must transform. There's nothing else that needs to be transformed. It's only the mind must be transforming. Everything else will get transformed when the mind is transformed. Who is enjoying everything? Mind. He's beyond. When we take your life itself, who is enjoying the good things in your life? You? Your mind is enjoying. Who is enjoying the bad things of life? You? It is your mind which is enjoying. So, like that, you see, when the mind is fully controlled, then the self will reveal itself. The self itself is bliss. And that blissful state, once you have attained, once you have tasted that nectar, you can be anywhere, even in the midst of a marketplace. Nothing can move you.